Washington, D.C. Present day. Intelligence Oversight Committee. 0859 hours. The hearing room was cold, even under the press of camera lights and whispers. A crimson seal of the United States Senate loomed behind the dais, but it was the air itself, tight with implication, that held the room hostage. Jack Barrett sat upright, hands folded, brow drawn. Across from him sat CIA analyst Christopher Huntergreen and Dr. Elias Voss, summoned again for further questioning. A senior senator adjusted his earpiece, leaned forward. "Mr. Barrett," he began, "for the record, how did you return? What equipment was used to retrieve you from the field after your disappearance?" Jack didn't blink. "The bubble wasn't just spatial," he said. "It was temporal. They created a harmonic echo of the original waveform, an artificial dilation field designed to collapse back into the moment where I was lost. It worked because I was still there." "Still there," he nodded. "Part of me hadn't returned." Huntergreen interjected, voice calm but assertive. "That operation was classified under Echo Frame Retrieval Protocol. The Russian satellite was also recovered, not destroyed as was previously assumed. Like Jack, it was pulled back into phase." The room fell quiet. Senator Aldridge narrowed his gaze. "Are you saying that a Soviet military asset, believed lost in 1980, is now in U.S. possession?" Voss leaned toward the mic. "Recovered. Interrogated. Deconstructed. Its guidance systems, its signal telemetry, showed signs of interaction with the same anomaly that affected Jack." "And the 5-man team that witnessed his disappearance?" the senator asked. "They were debriefed separately," Voss confirmed. "Each underwent memory mitigation protocols. Lieutenant Colonel Denning was later reassigned to intelligence operations, Huntergreen's directive. The others were reassigned. No public record." "What of the Russian team sent to recover the satellite?" "They were detained, then repatriated under diplomatic pretense," Huntergreen said. "Without disclosure, with deniability," Voss answered. "And then the question that changed the room. How has this affected modern technology?" Jack looked up. "You're already using it."
They said it was buried, sealed by command, a shadow erased by a trembling hand. But truth, like a signal, refuses to fade. It echoes in silence and choices we made. Inside the lie, a fracture grew. A voice remembered what Jack once knew. A world held hostage to echoes unheard, but the signal returned in every word. We are the static between what's true, caught in a war we never knew. He stood before them, eyes alight, a man reborn in spectral light. Memory torn, identity blurred, yet still he speaks, still he's heard. Waking in futures that shouldn't exist, dreaming in time loops cloaked in a mist. The veil was lifted, the frame undone. One was returned, two had begun. Congress leans in, shadows recoil, secrets unwind in a slow uncoil. The satellite wasn't lost to flame, it came back, whispering Jack's name. We are the static between what's true, caught in a war we never
Washington, D.C., Intelligence Committee Vault, December 18th, 2025. The hearing had adjourned at 7:04 p.m. the previous night. What followed was not rest, not clarity, but a warning. Dr. Voss, CIA analyst Christopher Huntergreen, and Jack Barrett had been ushered into a private side chamber by a security detail whose clearance exceeded that of most seated senators. No transcripts were recorded. No aides allowed. Just a single sentence delivered by the black-suited agent at the door. He knows. Private briefing, Georgetown, 9:13 p.m. The restaurant was old money, walnut-paneled, discreet, favored by legacy operatives and those who ran agencies without their names etched on doors. Jack sat between Voss and Huntergreen in a rear booth shielded from prying eyes by low lighting and a subtle audio-masking field. Voss didn't eat. He stared into his coffee like it held a signal only he could decipher. Huntergreen leaned in first. "We withheld things from you. Not because you didn't deserve to know, because you weren't ready to become what those answers would turn you into." Jack narrowed his eyes. "What am I becoming?" "An activation vector," Voss said quietly. "You and your son." Silence expanded. "You've both been exposed to the lattice. Leo before birth, through your altered DNA. You were changed, but he was born into the resonance." Jack pushed back from the table, shaking. "This isn't just about me anymore." "No," Huntergreen confirmed. "This is about Echo Frame." December 18th, 2025, 9:42 a.m. Jack Barrett stood in silence at the base of the Capitol steps. Day 4 was about to begin. Marble stretched above him, gleaming white beneath a crisp December sky. His attorney, a quiet presence beside him, adjusted his notes but didn't speak. They both knew what was about to unfold, the weight of decades, of buried operations, of memory wiped and restored. This wasn't just testimony. This was the reckoning. Jack's eyes lingered on the flag above, flapping against the wind like a signal from another timeline. The world believed they were chasing the unknown, but Jack knew the unknown was already inside. Senator Koenig's voice cut through the vault as the sealed doors hissed closed. "Mr. Barrett, you said yesterday you remembered everything. That memory had returned despite suppression." Jack nodded. The hearing chamber settled into silence as Jack Barrett returned to the microphone. Seated behind him were Dr. Elias Voss and CIA analyst Christopher Huntergreen, both now under congressional subpoena. Their faces were unreadable. The senators were not. The chairman leaned forward. "Mr. Barrett, please continue. Earlier testimony concluded with your retrieval and the operational consequences that followed." Jack inhaled slowly. "I'll speak plainly now." He placed a redacted folder on the desk. "This is the sequence log for Operation Echo Protocol, Night 3. But it didn't begin that night. It began before my first deployment, before the phenomenon chose me." Senator Tillman interjected. "You stated chose. Are you suggesting a level of agency?" "I'm stating it recognized something," Jack replied, "and it wanted that signal back. We'd like to know about January 7th, 1981, the event after the second encounter, what happened at Capel Green, and afterward." Jack looked to Voss. A subtle nod. He began. "I woke up gasping," Jack said. "But something wasn't right. I was still there. Part of me hadn't come back." The panel shifted uncomfortably. "They thought the phenomenon had closed, that the bubble collapsed, but it was still active, drawing in energy, drawing in memory." "What did you do?" asked Koenig. "I waited. Then I was summoned." A low-band transmission had pulsed from beneath Capel Green. A Russian SIGINT array caught it first. It carried a message on a Cold War protocol: long dead, echo frame, convergence unstable, presence incomplete. CIA handlers scrambled. NSA analysts demanded reconfirmation, but Jack had already moved. The signal pulled him back, and so did another. Sergeant B, now experiencing lucid flashes that weren't his. He didn't remember the night before, but he remembered the forest. Back in the classified chamber, Voss and Huntergreen disclosed the existence of Project Echo Frame to the senators. Not as a proposal, but as something that had been activated the moment Jack disappeared into the light. The Russian satellite, Voss expanded on his earlier testimony, was never destroyed. We thought it had been vaporized, but it was translated. Koenig blinked. Into what? Huntergreen stepped forward now. It wasn't destroyed. The Zenit payload was redirected, looped like Barrett, caught in the temporal aperture and held. When we retrieved Jack, the satellite was still broadcasting, but not to us. To whom then? Huntergreen's voice lowered. That's something that's hard to explain. The silence following that answer hung thick. Huntergreen followed up with, back into the loop. Like Jack, part of the lattice now. They described how, upon Jack's reappearance, they tested field resonance at the original landing site. Another senator leaned in. How did you provoke the phenomenon to interact with Jack Barrett? We didn't, Voss said carefully. We created the condition. The phenomenon responded. Barrett's biology aligned with its return signature. We just watched. What happened to the Russian recon team? Koenig asked. Voss was blunt. They were captured, then forgotten. Dr. Voss? A senator asked. Did the British Condyne report incorporate data from the Rendlesham events directly? Voss nodded. Select entries were folded into Volume 2 and Appendix G under a different label. They never admitted it publicly. But yes, it was foundational. And how much of our current directed energy and sensor-evading technologies stem from that? Voss hesitated. A significant portion. The Rendlesham data modeled atmospheric lensing, field-driven cognition interference, and harmonic propulsion resonance. It informed plasma stealth cloaking, drone noise obfuscation, and more. A follow-up question was then asked about the team involved in Night 3 events. Voss further described what the team, Captain Devin Haynes, Technical Sergeant, Moreno, Senior Airman Vickers, Airman First Class Avery, and Lieutenant Colonel Denning had seen. They described Denning's behavior. Flat effect, unblinking compliance. Denning, Huntergreen said, was already embedded with a neural suggestion layer. Pre-programmed. His trigger phrases were embedded into his operational profile in 1979. Jack listened. His pulse slowed. The silence that followed felt like space. Each member of the 5-man team was interviewed. Each had gaps. Each described a moment where Jack Barrett simply vanished. Light bending around him, like a ripple in curved glass. Sergeant B remembered seeing the event and then waking up again at base. Voss concluded, we administered full memory veiling. Same for Barrett. Same for B. Only recently has the degradation begun. And what about now? A younger staffer asked. What are they now? Huntergreen answered. Assets. Unstable ones. A quiet senator from Arizona leaned forward. This cover-up started almost immediately and lasted decades. Why? Didn't it slow technological advancement? Voss exhaled. It was never about slowing it down. It was about controlling its trajectory. And the funding? Another asked. Huntergreen smiled, tight-lipped. You authorized it. You just didn't know what you were signing. Alone, Jack stared at the ceiling of his secured room. fluorescent lights humming softly above, the edges of the tiles warping as though the air itself had memory. His fingers twitched, sensing frequencies he no longer needed ears to hear. The same voice that had once whispered, "You're already inside," returned now with new words. "You are the loop now, and the gate is not closed." Jack's eyes did not move. But somewhere, deep behind them, something did. SCIF hearing room, 2045 hours. The heavy door hissed open with pneumatic finality. A suited official from the National Security Council stepped forward, credentials shimmering with a red border that few in the room had ever seen. He approached the committee chairman without ceremony and whispered a coded sequence. The senator blinked once, then rose with an audible exhale. The official's voice rang out next, not loud, but final. "Ladies and gentlemen, effective immediately, this hearing and all subsequent data related to Project EchoFrame is now designated under Special Access, Program Blacklight 77. Clearance will be restricted to the Gang of Eight, the DNI, and the President of the United States. All others are to be excused. You will each sign a non-disclosure directive before departing. And as of this moment, this hearing never took place. No one spoke. Security escorts moved silently to designated exit points. As Jack watched from behind the reinforced glass partition, the world above his had just shifted timelines again, this time not through resonance, but bureaucracy. He turned his gaze inward once more. The voice returned one last time. "We are already through. The resonance is not waiting. The future is already awake." The lights dimmed slightly as Jack's vitals synced with an unseen pulse deep beneath the base. FBI agents immediately took charge of Jack Barrett, doctor, Elias Voss, CIA analyst Christopher Huntergreen, and Mr. David Rourke, Mr. Barrett's legal counsel, and they were placed into protective custody under joint directive. They were escorted by federal agents to a secure and undisclosed location where they will receive a classified briefing outlining the next phase of containment, assessment, and operational transition. This measure was taken in response to emerging intelligence indicating potential threats to national security stemming from the resurfacing elements within the Rendlesham framework. Further details remain classified pending interagency coordination. The lights in the hearing room dimmed as Jack Barrett's final words echoed beneath the vaulted ceiling. The silence that followed wasn't simple. It was loaded, a fragile boundary between revelation and collapse. Across the world, listening stations lit up, atmospheric sensors recalibrated, and inside the Pentagon's deepest vaults, red folders were removed from temperature-sealed safes. EchoFrame is no longer theoretical, Huntergreen had warned. It's responding. But it wasn't responding to them. Jack sat in silence, his fingertips trembling as the voice returned once more. Inside his mind, inside the resonance. "You've only just begun, Jack. The recursion has started. The others will awaken, and so will the threshold." Meanwhile, in a remote surveillance facility near Mount Kailash, a waveform matching Barrett's DNA signature spiked, then split. Earth had reached the turning point. It would never be the same again.
Through the silence of time, I walked alone. But the stars knew my name in undertone. From Rendlesham woods to Saturn skies, I carry the echo, I live